Hello, hockey fans, and welcome back to another episode of High Flying, the podcast made for the fans.
By the fans.
As always, my name is Nolan, and I'm here with my lovely co-host Jude.
How's it going, everybody? Excited to be back. Another round.
Another round. We're gonna get to some actual sports events today. We spent the last couple episodes on international hockey and the upcoming Olympics. Super quick tangent about that. Thank you if you voted in our viewer poll for who you would take first overall. The overwhelming majority, 71%. I looked at the results. As we know, I like to keep receipts. 71% voted Gavin McKenna. So I'm glad that the people are in my court for that one.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not mad at it. He's been kind of lighting it up since World Juniors ended back at Penn State. So as long as it's one of those two, I'll be thrilled. Anything below that and the pain will just continue. So
Yeah, unless unless you guys drop to third. But right now, the Vancouver Canucks have the highest chances of getting the first overall pick. We'll get to that a little bit later. First, I just want to touch on the month of February for a little bit because the month of February, generally a big month for sports, has some of the biggest sporting events in the world. The Super Bowl, of course, is coming up. The Winter Olympics in Milan, of course, are coming up. Outside of that, though, it is also the 50th season of Survivor, which may be bigger than the Super Bowl and the Olympics if
nothing
you're
to do with
somebody
sports.
like me.
But,
Do you not like that take?
well, it's just got nothing to do with sports, but I like Survivor.
Nothing to do with sports, but they got the challenges. You have to be somewhat athletic, It tests you physically, tests you mentally. Now, the reason I bring this up is I have applied for Survivor multiple times, and I've never got on. However, we do have a friend of the show, Mr. Todd Herzog, who was on Survivor China, the winner of Survivor China. He runs Todd's Pop Shop. Okay? So if you want any custom pop figures, you go to Todd's Pop Shop. He's got you covered. I have my high flying pop figure right here that he made for us. Great work. Jude has one as well. It's hiding somewhere. Now, the reason I bring this up is Todd and Leslie Neese, also from Survivor China, have their own podcast. It's called Beyond the Torch. And normally, what they do is they bring on guests that are previous Survivor contestants. Well, right now, they have a competition where you can enter, and they are going to bring on a fan for an episode of Beyond the Torch. And they asked the fans who would like to enter this contest to submit their audition videos. And I thought, what better way for me to submit an audition video to go on Beyond the Torch with Todd and Leslie than on an actual podcast, our own podcast, High Flying. Now, I assume everyone who is going to audition for this is going to be some massive Survivor fan, so we don't need to talk about how big of a fan I am. But I will say, I'd like to think I have some entertaining takes. Some of them hot, some of them not. And Jude, I think, can vouch for my strong opinions and strong feelings on certain topics that I've given over the years.
Yeah, definitely never boring when you care to share your opinion. So we always appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll throw it out there as well. Survivor China, first season of Survivor that Jude and I watched together, and there could be so many things that I talk about. February, the episode's being filmed on Valentine's Day. Um, Showmances usually don't work in Survivor. It worked for Rob and Amber, doesn't work for most people. So we can talk about the art of the showmance and why you should not do it. It did not work in Millennials versus Gen X for Taylor and Figgy. It did not work for Matt and Franny. It did not work, whatever weird thing was going on between Courtney and Frosty in Survivor China. I'm sure Todd is happy that didn't work because he ended up winning. I remember Jude sitting there watching, going, what's going on between these two? I'd love to talk about that. I'd love to talk about how Australian Survivor Redemption is coming out at the exact same time with a brand new host, former contestant David. And I might be a little bit more excited actually to watch Australian Survivor than Survivor 50. I'm going to watch them both because I love Survivor. Why not? So, Todd, Leslie, I'd be happy to be on Beyond the Torch with you guys. Hopefully, you put me on there. It is going to be taped on Valentine's Day. I am single and ready to mingle with you two and all the Beyond the Torch fans.
Holy, all right. That's a good promo, honestly. You cut a good promo. I gotta correct you though. China is the second season that we watched together. I don't.
Well,
I think it wasn't it Cambodia the first one that we watched.
you're very correct. So many Survivor seasons. You're absolutely correct. We did watch Cambodia the first time.
I
That's right.
I pay attention. I listen.
That's right.
But yeah,
One of the best idol plays ever in Survivor. Of course, Kelly Wentworth playing her idol, voting out Andrew Savage, and kind of started Jude's streak of predicting Survivor winners correctly. He had Jeremy on his short list for winners, and that ended up turning out very well for him.
yeah, I've been proven to be able to guess pretty quickly the quality of the contestants. Yeah, I hope you get on as well. That I was not expecting the pod to start with a minute promo from you, but here we are.
Yeah, there we go. Beyond the Torch, Todd and Leslie, go check it out, and hopefully you will end up seeing me on there later in February. I'm talking about predicting things correctly, though. If we want to get into sports a little bit, Super Bowl 60 is also coming up in February. And if you've been following along to our podcast, you know that Jude and I are in a football pool that we do annually. Also, say this too, Todd and Leslie, please continue watching the full episode if you'd like, so you can kind of get a taste of our podcasting skills. But Jude and I are in a football pool, and Jude is in the finals of our football pool back-to-back years. His team made it to the Super Bowl. He was our defending champion from last year. This year, he has the New England Patriots going up against our friend Justin, who has the Seattle Seahawks. Jude, how are you feeling about the Super Bowl this year?
Conflicted. I'm very conflicted. Not in who I'm rooting for. I unequivocally want the Seahawks to win this. They are the only team I cheer for that ever comes through and does anything for me. So shout out the Seattle Seahawks. Fucking love this team. I've got to admit, start of the season, I had my doubts about Mr. Darnold, about Sam. I may or may not have said to some dear friends of mine that we just massively overpaid for the white Geno Smith. That has proven to be ridiculously wrong, and I'm happy for it. Thank you, Sam Darnold, for coming to Seattle. But yeah, if I do pull out victorious in the pool, it means my favorite football team loses. So it's tough. If the only way for me to defend my title is for my team to lose their shot at a title. So I guess you could say either way I win. That's how I'm going to look at it. Either way I win, but I very much would prefer to be the runner up in the pool this year.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's pretty clear cut. My favorite team is the New England Patriots. So I'm going to be cheering for them. I hope Jude is a two-time defending champion in our football pool. And on top of that, if I have to pay someone $50, it's just a lot easier for me to e-transfer Jude than it is to figure out how to e-transfer an American bank account. Justin lives in the States in Michigan, so just on practicality too, all signs point towards New England. Here's the interesting thing with this matchup. I did a little research here in terms of predicting the probability of New England winning versus Seattle. And the first thing I want to say, this has been the weirdest football season I've ever seen. Just really strange in how things have played out. So I don't know anything really when it comes to who's going to win. But New England is undefeated this season away from home. Outside of playing in Foxborough, they've won every single game. Obviously, the Super Bowl is in a neutral ground. It's in Santa Clara, which is the home of the 49ers. So if you look at that stat, you go, okay, they're playing away from home. They're going to win just based on the record. However, New England, even though it's a neutral ground, New England is listed as the home team. So that one can go either way. Even the stats that are supposed to help me predict, they can go either way. Left, right, which direction are we going in? The other thing too, this is a little bit of a tradition. Do you watch the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon?
I see a lot of clips online, whether or not it's like Twitter or YouTube Shorts or whatever. But I can't say I'm typically sitting down and watching a full Tonight Show these days.
Sure. So I'm right there with you. I don't sit down and watch the full thing, but I like to partake in the viewing of certain segments. And they have a little bit of a tradition. Now, this is the fourth year that they've done it, where they bring on Rob Gronkowski onto the show. a former New England Patriot, and they asked him to predict the Super Bowl. This is the fourth year they've done it, and they did it again this year. And he predicted that the New England Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl, as most people would assume he would predict. That was the team he spent the most time with throughout his career. He has been wrong every single year. He has never once predicted correctly. So the fact that he said New England doesn't make me too happy.
Huge. Huge. I mean, I like both of those stats. I did also see New England's 9-0 on the road this year. First team in NFL history to go 9-0 on the road. Mike Vrabel is also the first person ever to start a Super Bowl as a player and be a coach for that same team in the Super Bowl decades later. So shout out Mike Vrabel. I do respect the hell out of this Patriots team, but obviously this is going to come across biased because I just stated I'm a big Seahawks fan, but I think unabashedly the Seahawks are the better football team here. Their road to the Super Bowl much harder. The Patriots had the easiest schedule in the league, if I'm not mistaken, this year because they were so bad last year. And then even going through the playoffs, I mean, they got to play CJ Stroud, who was just awful. Every single time he threw the ball, I thought it was going to the other team. They got saved by not having to play Bo Nix, and they only won by 3 points in that game. Credit Denver's defense; they're a good squad, but Drake May coming into this Super Bowl has, I believe, 2 picks and 4 fumbles so far in these playoffs. So I think the Seahawks are coming in rolling on all cylinders. Crushed the 49ers. Wasn't even close. Granted, they had injuries, but the Rams, I think, were a far and away better team than the Patriots, and that presented, I think, a bigger challenge for the Seahawks. That being said, this is the biggest stage in the world. Kind of got to throw everything out. It's one game. These two teams standing at the top of the hill, so I do think anybody can beat anybody. But as long as Darnold does not turn the ball over and our run game keeps cooking, I think Seattle's defense is going to give Drake May a hell of a day.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Like looking on paper, I'd probably favor I don't really know who I'd favor to be honest, because like going into the season, if you just look at our season predictions, I had New England heavily favored throughout the regular season than I did Seattle. Watching the course of how the season played out, at this point, I think I'd agree with you. On paper, Seattle looks like they're the stronger team. I believe in Mike Vrabel. This is kind of where I'm at. And we had one of our listeners, Mike Wessel, your father, egregiously call me out for a comparison we did a little while back, a few months ago, where I compared Mike Vrabel to Bill Belichick. So just the fact that Mike Vrabel can get a Super Bowl right now, I would love to see it happen just so I can go, Mike, I told you, don't question me when it comes to my football knowledge. But on top of that, too, just talking about how weird this NFL season is, I, probably with every other football viewer in the world, am astounded that Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. That might be the biggest Hall of Fame snub I've ever seen in the history of all sports.
Pretty wild when you are less than 2 weeks away from the Super Bowl, and the only thing anyone is talking about in the football world is a Hall of Fame snub. Now, granted, this hasn't even officially come out. These are reports that it's likely that he's not making the Hall of Fame, but I don't think it would have come out if it wasn't pretty much a lock. You need 40 of 50 votes to get into the Hall of Fame, and obviously he didn't get that. I don't think there's any logical way that somebody can look over the resume, the stats, everything Bill Belichick has done in pro football and come to the conclusion that he does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. So I wouldn't be surprised if this brought along some change to the Hall of Fame voting process, or if Goodell stepped in and just vetoed it and made a one time, like, you guys screwed this up. This is just wrong. Because if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, how
It's
can
like
anybody?
there's never going to be another coach that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame if it's not Bill Belichick.
Right. And I'm sure he'll get in next year. But this is being said, coaches, like, no coach ever again can get in on the first ballot, because if you stack up any other coach's resume to his, it's not close. He's second all time in wins, most Super Bowls of any coach, 2 as a DC, 6 as a head coach, and has the most playoff wins of all time with 31. There's just nothing you can look at that you can point to be like, this guy doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I've heard the Spygate and Deflategate stuff. But Deflategate, one is just utter bullshit and had nothing to do with him. Like any way you slice it, even if you do think that mattered in the game, Belichick, he just couldn't have played any part in that. I think a head coach has a lot more on his plate than making sure he tells the equipment guy deflate these fucking balls to this precise amount. Like it's just not true. And Spygate, multiple coaches have come out saying every freaking team in the league was trying to do that. Every team was doing it. They're just the ones that got caught and punished for it. So yeah, this is just ridiculous. I think everybody in the world agrees on this, which is pretty freaking hard to have happen in 2026. So
Yeah, who would have thought that Bill Belichick, who is quite a polarizing figure. Like, unless you're a New England fan, I kind of understand if you don't like him for the fact that he was probably beating your team's ass for many years, game after game, right? So, like, I get that. But to your point, even if you take away those two controversial Super Bowls, he still has four as a head coach. Like, that's insane to me. And, like, yes, I understand the argument. Oh, well, he had Tom Brady, the best quarterback of all time, best football player of all time. Completely understand that. I personally do think that Tom Brady probably played a bigger contribution to the success in the New England Patriots than Bill Belichick did. And obviously, there's other things in there. What's his name? Like Josh McDaniels, the was the offensive coordinator for many years. Um, Julian Edelman looked like the best receiver in the world every time the playoffs hit. So we mentioned Rob Gronkowski earlier. So there's other factors that go into it. But like just numbers alone, it astounds me the stupidity of whoever these Hall of Fame voters are. Like there's 50 of them. I don't actually know how many votes he got. Like you mentioned, you need 40. So it was at least 11 that voted no or like didn't vote for him. Those 11 people should be fired from anything to do with sports. They should never be allowed to talk about sports ever again. If they even mention the word football, they should burst into flames until they're anointed with holy water to forgive them for their sins. And that is my stance on that. And that just kind of confirms how this may be the strangest NFL season I've ever witnessed since I started watching football many, many years ago.
yeah, quickly I'll touch on. I agree. Brady proved with the Super Bowl win in Tampa Bay that he was, if you want to give him 55% to Bill's 45%, that's fair enough. But if you look at, it's not like Tom Brady was carrying bad defenses or just lackluster defenses his whole career. I believe all their Super Bowl wins, they had a top 10 defense that season. So Bill absolutely did his part, like you're saying. All those people that voted against him should probably be fired, and I wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised if this contributed to them changing the voting for the Hall of Fame in that it's no longer anonymous. Because I think it's just horseshit. Like being able to hide behind anonymity for stuff like this, where you're keeping debatably the best coach of all time in pro football out of the Hall of Fame the first year because of it has to be personal bias because there's nothing I could imagine that would keep him out in terms of resumes. So yeah,
I'm
you're
going to
right. This
go
is
ahead and I assume that most of these guys either live in New York or Atlanta who are voting.
yeah. Well, I saw one report again. We don't know if it's true or not that Bill Polian, who was GM of the Colts for a long time, and tons of other roles, obviously in professional football, but I saw a report that he led the charge in keeping Belichick out because of the Spygate stuff, Deflategate stuff. And if that's true, I mean that is just literally a butthurt GM that got beat by Bill so many times, keeping him out for personal bias, and I just think that's wrong. So going forward, I can't imagine they're going to be able to keep the anonymity for these Hall of Fame voters. And yeah, you're right. This is the oddest football season I've probably have ever seen. There's no Mahomes, no Lamar in the playoffs, which you're assuming Josh Allen's finally going to make it. There's no Burrow either. So again, it's like Josh Allen, here's your chance.
Chicago
Somehow
Bears won their
Chicago
division.
Bears make the playoffs. Uh, I mean, the end of that game against the Rams is ridiculous. In the NFC, you've got Sam Darnold, who 3 years ago, everybody he was backup quarterback. He's leading the Super Bowl team. Just crazy stuff. Um, so yeah, hopefully we get to cap it off with a fantastic game here, and the Seahawks come out on top.
And obviously I hope we get to cap it off with a fantastic game where the Seahawks do not come out on top because I do not want to have to deal with a wire transfer to Michigan. Now moving on
We just
to
won't say anything if that happens.
that's true. That's true.
Let them bring it up if they're
That's right. Um, moving on to
Don't
hockey
listen to
bit.
this episode, Justin.
We love you, Justin, and I hope you lose. And don't get paid. Um, I'm just glad that Gage didn't win. Anyways, moving on to hockey. Um, there's been a lot that happened in the past 2, 3 weeks in the NHL that we haven't touched on because we have been more focused on the international side. We're going to get to all of it. One segment we like to do here is called Nucks and Five. It's we put a 5 minute cap on our Vancouver Canucks talk so we don't run too long. There's been times that we've kind of stretched that 5 minutes, but Jude specifically mentioned to me previous to this segment that he did not want to spend a lot of time on the Vancouver Canucks because he is miserable and it is causing liquor store sales to rise in the greater Vancouver area. And so I have 4 points written down. There's really only two main ones I want to touch on here. If you want, I can just take the lead on this, and we're going to try and whip through those 2 points in 2.5 minutes each.
Yeah, go for it.
Awesome. Let me turn my notes here. Um, so first of all, I want to start off next in five saying Macklin Celebrini looked really good playing in Rogers Arena. And I believe he had a 4 point night against the Vancouver Canucks. And obviously, Macklin Celebrini, one of the best players in the world. He's an emerging star, made Canada's Olympic team. He's in his sophomore season. And this kind of brings me back to one of his teammates because maybe this is where everything started to go wrong for the Canucks. I try and think like we had six All-Stars. I say we, but really you had six All-Stars at one point. How did it go so wrong? And the guy I'm gonna mention, he was never an all-star for the Canucks, but in the 2019-2020 season, the Vancouver Canucks had a player that they chose not to re-sign, and he absolutely lit it up at Rogers Arena, whether it was for the Vancouver Canucks or
Or the LA
playing
Kings, or the
against.
Montreal Canadiens, or the San Jose Sharks, or the Winnipeg Jets. I don't even know if he played against the Canucks when he was on the Jets,
He
but
did
yeah,
not play against the Canucks with the Jets,
yeah,
but he was on the Jets. He
I
did,
know
sorry,
who.
he played against the Canucks, not at Rogers Arena, though.
Right.
Specifically, he had a really good stat line playing in Rogers Arena, that specific building. Almost a goal every second game for Tyler Toffoli. I have it written down here in the 13 games he's played in Rogers Arena since he's left the Canucks. He has 13 points, so point per game player still, which is slowing down a little bit. That's okay. He's getting older.
I
And
shouldn't have let you take the lead on. Sorry.
and and my thing is like, wow, Tyler Toffoli just absolutely looked like Sidney Crosby out there in Rogers Arena, and now he's passed that skill along to his teammate Macklin Celebrini, who looks like he's going to be the new mayor of Vancouver. How do you feel about that? And do you think not re-signing Tyler Toffoli is what we can pinpoint as the downfall of the Vancouver Canucks?
I don't think there's any one moment in history that was the downfall of the Canucks, but it certainly contributed. That offseason, we lost Tyler Toffoli, we lost Chris Tanev, we lost Troy Stetcher, we lost Jacob Markstrom, who I actually think in hindsight it was smart not to resign. But those other three guys absolutely unequivocally should have been brought back. And then to piggyback off of that, I believe it was that offseason they gave JT Miller his 8 year deal. Or maybe it was in the middle of the next season. But anyways, so that honestly signing JT to that long-term deal, I do think was maybe the ultimate turning point. But back to what you were originally going on, Macklin Celebrini, I don't even think you can call him an emerging star at this point. He's a fucking superstar. He's top 5 in the league in points. He's going to be top 6 on Team Canada. The game before was past one where the Sharks were in town. He had 16 shot attempts against the Canucks, which is just absurd. He's ridiculous to watch. If you focus on him when he's on the ice and they're in the offensive zone, he's just constantly moving. This might be a weird comparison, but he's kind of like Steph Curry in the sense that when he doesn't have the puck, Curry doesn't have the ball, they're just constantly moving around. There's no time where they're stagnant. They're always just looking to get open, looking to find soft ice for a better shot. So he's pretty good. Makes me wish the Canucks would have intentionally been in this position a couple years earlier to potentially procure his services. But nonetheless, we're doing a great job of tanking. Doing a great job of tanking. Adam Foote leading the charge, the tank commander there. I
And
don't imagine anything's going to change because we're hopefully going to trade off more assets. So I'm okay with the losing. I would just kind of like to see some less disheartening losses going forward.
Right. Canucks just, I don't want to bring this up, but Canucks set a franchise record for the most losses in a row, which is cool. We're not going to touch on that. But yeah, talking about draft procurement and tanking, obviously Kiefer Sherwood sent to the San Jose Sharks. If you haven't heard about that, he's going to be teammates with Toffoli and Celebrini. Got a second round pick for that. Evander Kane sounds like he's going to a Central Division team. That's almost a done deal. I'm here in Colorado. I'm here in Dallas. Maybe Minnesota
Just
will
got to get
be
a fourth round pick. I
in the.
don't even try and get anything more than that for Vander Kane. Just don't take back less than you gave away to get that guy. It has to be a fourth round pick, or I'm gonna lose my mind.
And that sets up the Canucks in a pretty good position for this draft coming up. So they got I have it written down here. They got right now projected to get the first overall pick. They at least have the highest odds to receive that out of any team. They also have the 30th overall pick from Minnesota, their own 33rd overall pick in the second round, and San Jose's second round pick, which is currently sitting at 43rd overall. Keep in mind, Ottawa has relinquished their uh, first overall pick this year to the NHL. The NHL has taken it away from them because they were naughty down in Ottawa. They were some bad boys. And so those last three picks I mentioned, 30th, 33rd, and 43rd overall, will all move up one spot for the Vancouver Canucks. The reason I bring this up is because the Vancouver Canucks have had lots of success drafting twins. They're a big fan of drafting twins. They have done it with the greatest twins to ever play the game, Henrik and Daniel Sedin, Hall of Famers as they should be, and as Bill Belichick should be. But we've already discussed that. Point being, there's a pair of twins on the Medicine Hat Tigers, and the Vancouver Canucks have the most hilarious opportunity to draft a pair of twins again. Jude, have you ever heard of Liam and Marcus Ruck?
I have a couple of absolute studs for the Medicine Hat Tigers of the WHL. Probably getting a pretty great opportunity this year now that McKenna left. So I believe one of them's a center, one of them's a winger, and one of them's a playmaker, and one of them's a goal scorer. I can't remember which is which.
That's
But
correct. So Marcus is the playmaking center. Liam is the goal scoring right winger.
hell yeah. Let's do it. I'm so in for that. Bring some twins back, especially two high flying offensive forwards, which is exactly what the Canucks need.
Homegrown guys. They're from Osoyoos, British Columbia, about an hour down the road from where I'm living right now. So, they probably grew up cheering for the Vancouver Canucks, I would imagine, as most people do here. So right now, I looked at the draft rankings from Central Scouting. They're projected as the 26th and 31st ranked North American skaters, which puts their draft ranking, if you consider in the European skaters and the goalies, they're projected to go somewhere mid to late second round. So it would be a little bit of a stretch taking them with the 33rd and 43rd overall picks, or the 30th and 33rd overall picks. The Canucks would be reaching a little bit. There's probably higher end talent there, but Liam's projected to finish the season with 96 points in 68 games. Marcus is projected to finish the season with 94 points in 68 games. To me, that sounds pretty good. And all in all, the Medicine Hat Tigers are 33, 8, and 6. So these seem like two guys that have a lot of chemistry, like to put it in the back of the net, and are winners. If I'm the Canucks and I have the opportunity where these two guys on the board, I might take a chance on them.
Yeah, I'm always in favor of, especially once you get out of the lottery section, just take the best talent available. I don't really care. I mean, you can go for positional need. I think we obviously they'd take you said Logan was the center?
Liam is the winger, Marcus is the center.
Oh, geez, Louise. Okay, cut that out. My bad. Marcus is the center. I think you're taking him first. Um, yeah,
So
if you get a
Liam,
chance, but I wouldn't. I don't
I
think
will
we're in the
say,
business where you can be taking chances. Just take the most talent available. It would be an awesome story, and I think everybody be happy about it. But you just got to take the best talent you can get.
out of the two currently, obviously centers are more valuable in the league. The Canucks do need a center right now. Liam is the higher projected player. right now in the central scouting rankings. And I agree with you. You kind of have to take the best player available. If you're picking 33rd, for example, and there's three or four clear guys that you'd have on your short list ahead of the Ruck twins, then yeah, you probably take those guys and don't focus on the spectacle of having another set of twins. However, what a great story. Like, you know what? Maybe you just do it in Vancouver just because it gives the fans something to cheer about.
Yeah, fair enough. Or we can just. I think I'm taking Marcus because he's a center without, unless we get a centerman, late first round or whatever. But we are very, very barren when it comes to centerman and the Canucks depth chart organizationally. So I would take Marcus first, and then maybe let another team. If Liam falls to you where you want to take him, go for it. If not, then maybe try and acquire his rights a little bit later on down the line. But I'm the Canucks of all teams cannot afford to be drafting good stories ahead of good players. So I agree. The sentiment would be cool. Take the best freaking players available. I'm tired of watching losing every freaking night. I will say, I went to the game against Washington Capitals last week, and that is the only win the Canucks have secured in their last 15 games, I believe. So if Francesco, you feel like throwing me some season tickets and getting a couple more wins on the board, I'm here for it.
Yeah, we need an advertisement deal here on High Flying. So Francesco, if you want to advertise the Vancouver Canucks, we are happy to cut promos for you for a little bit of monetary compensation or free tickets. But yeah, so that's probably enough on the Canucks. As we know, they're going to have at least three first-round picks. If they don't manage to screw it up, they may have even more. There's other teams though that have gone into the mix. A couple episodes ago, or maybe it was last episode. I don't remember. No, 2 episodes ago, we were talking about Vegas and Calgary, and Vegas and Calgary doing a trade. Rasmus Anderson going to the Vegas Golden Knights in a deal, albeit very unlikely, could turn into 2 first-round picks for the Vegas Golden Knights. Getting sent back to Calgary was Zach Whitecloud, Abram Weeb, who is a friend of the show, a good friend of our Jude Wessel, and a 2027 first round pick and a 2028 conditional second round pick, with the condition being that if Vegas wins the Stanley Cup, that turns into a first. Like I said, very unlikely. I'm not picking the Vegas Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup, especially since they have lost more games this season than they've won and still have somehow managed to end up first in the Pacific. Either way, what a pickup. Rasmus Anderson, one of my favorite defensemen just based on the eye test. I talked about how he was overshadowing Mackenzie Weegar a little bit in Calgary. He hasn't really helped Vegas win that much since he's been there. They've kind of been par for the course, but that's still a big pickup, especially with losing Petrangelo. And you can always do with some more first round picks. And I just realized I screwed this up royally. I said Vegas is going to get 2 first round picks. Vegas is not getting 2 first round picks. They're giving Calgary potentially 2 first round picks. Screwed that one up royally, got my teams mixed up. Hopefully, Todd and Leslie have stopped watching at this point. But yeah, you get the gist of the trade. Anderson to Vegas, everything else to Calgary, including your friend Abram Weeb.
All right, I don't know why you do this with guys I used to play with. Played like 3 or 4 games with Abram. Good guy from what I remember. Hopefully, he does well in Calgary. Going forward, Rasmus Anderson, great player. You can always count on Vegas to be in there around or near the deadline, looking to move on from first round picks. I don't really know how they have first round picks left to trade, considering all the moves they've made over their course of being a team. I don't think any team from the Pacific has a legitimate shot at this point to go on and win the cup. Because Vegas and Edmonton, like we know, are the top 2 teams in the division, and as you said, they both have overall losing records. Edmonton has not won more than 2 games in a row this season, which is just I honestly I can't believe that. It's just baffling, but it's true. They have not won more than 2 games, or more than 2 games in a row this entire season. So maybe Rasmus Anderson will go on and help Vegas compete a little bit more this season, but they're so injured, and I don't really think that they have the depth to get her done against one of those 3 mammoths from the Central Division. No pun intended, because the Mammoth are not one of those teams. But yeah, Rasmus Anderson to Vegas. What to do?
I fear a little bit for Minnesota in the playoffs just based off of their lack of success in previous years in the playoffs. But obviously adding Quinn Hughes is a big piece to the puzzle there. And I'm hearing that they want to move on from Jesper Wallstedt, which to me makes complete sense. Not to bring this back to Vancouver, but should have moved on from Demko. Yeah, okay. Jude's giving me a look right now. You can't see it right now. So the rumor is that they want to acquire another top six forward. And in order to do that, they're willing to move on from Jesper Wallstedt and have Philip Gustafsson be their starter. And I guess if you don't need two number one goalies, so if you're going to trade a guy, trade the guy when his value is at his peak. That's not really where I was going with this, but if you want to touch on that, go for it.
I agree. Everybody knows the famous saying, if you got two number ones, you got zero, really. But why would you not move the older guy? I get it. Gustafson might be a little bit better right now, but Wallstedt's so much younger and has shown a lot of promise at a young age. So that's,
I think the idea is they know they only have 2 years of Quinn Hughes and they want to maximize the return right now. I think Billy G's fully in win now mode.
yeah, fair enough. All right.
It's Minnesota. It's always been a weird franchise.
You know what? You know what they say? If they win, nobody cares.
I would love for them to run into Dallas and Colorado, one of Dallas or Colorado in the first round and get knocked out. Like I know we said we need to reshape the playoff format, and this is exactly why, because it's going to be a crime to every hockey fan in the world that one of Dallas, Colorado, and Minnesota is not making out of the first round.
I'm praying for
But
Minnesota to get eliminated first round. That will
I
help our picks so much.
Me too, man. Me too. If one of those teams is losing first round, I hope it's Minnesota. No offense to all the Wild fans out there, all two of you. But yeah, just dialing it back a bit. I think it's a good trade from both perspectives, from Vegas and Calgary. Calgary obviously in a bit of a rebuild mode, and Anderson has 5 points in the last 5 games with the Vegas Golden Knights, so he's still helping them a little bit. Another team that is making moves. If you told me at the beginning of the season that the Pittsburgh Penguins, New York Islanders, and Philadelphia Flyers would be 2, 3, 4 in the Metro Division, I would not have believed you. Yet here we are, and the New York Islanders making a couple trades as they gear up for a push towards the playoffs.
Yeah, they got Andre Palat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they have so two trades in the Bucks for the New York Islanders. The first of the trades, they gave a third round pick to the New York Rangers in exchange for former Canucks legend, I believe, Carson Soucy.
Mhm.
And I assume they acquired Carson Soucy just to get some depth on their defense. Obviously, Romanov's still out, not expected to return this year. And their second trade, Maxim
Siplikov.
Siplikov.
Oh, sorry. Oh, damn. Okay, my bad. I shouldn't have stepped in.
No, that's okay.
I got it. The
I
hesitation made me think you were gonna mess that up, but
it's a tough last name. Just looking at how it's spelled, it's kind of like Swanson. If anytime there's a T in the S, if anyone lives in the Delta area that listens to us, they'll know about Swanson. But Maxim Siplikov going over to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for Andre Palat, a third round pick and a sixth round pick. Um, I understand the moves for both of these, right? Um, this definitely helps the Islanders now, got a little bit more depth as they push for the playoffs. To me, these are kind of nothing trades. First of all, I always think it's weird when teams trade with direct rivals or trade within their division. I never like trading within the division. You've mentioned it many times that you never want to trade people to Edmonton for that reason. Granted, the Rangers and the Devils don't look like they're in any place to make the playoffs this year, so the Islanders aren't going to have to run into them. I don't understand if you're the New Jersey Devils why you want Maxim Siplikov. Like he got what I have written down here. At the time of recording, he has 2 points in 27 games played this year. I understand it's only his second NHL season, but he's not a young dude. Like he's 27. He spent a lot of his early 20s playing in the KHL. It's not like a 21, 22-year-old prospect.
how many
Great.
hits
Let's
does he have?
move. Sorry?
How many hits does he have though?
Ethan, can you find that for us, please? I don't know how many hits he has. Um,
No,
no,
Maxim
Siplikov.
Siplikov.
Yeah. I assume the reason the Devils make this trade is to get away from Platt's contract. He still has 2 years left at 6 million. Um, so like that's my assumption as to why they're making this trade. And Siplikov is a player who showed huge upside potential in the KHL. That is not translated to the National Hockey League. So for me, like I get it, yeah, move on from Palat. To me, this is a little bit of a nothing trade because next year Palat's probably getting traded from the Islanders, and I don't really expect Siplikov to do anything with the Devils. Little bit these trades give us something to talk about. Seems a little bit unnecessary to me. I don't know. What are your thoughts on these two trades, Jude?
I understand the Devils wanted to move off Palat's contract. I mean, he's still a decent contributor, but maybe not for the number. And I think they're still going to try and take a run at Quinn when he is up for free agency at the end of next year, should he be there. So really, it's a salary dump. Siplikov, I believe he's a relatively physical player, and the Devils have none of that on their current roster. Um, I mean, he's probably no Kiefer Sherwood with the hits, but he does.
So he has 46 hits. It says 46 hits in how many games? What did I say? 27 games.
Okay, so he's throwing a couple of hits a game, roundabout, maybe a little bit less than that, but still, I think for the Islanders, that contract in, contract out, you're saving a bit of money and bringing in a guy who maybe brings a little bit of a different element to a lineup that is fairly small and not physical most of the time. And Carson Soucy, you're right, Canucks legend. Solid if you need him to play on the third pair, maybe sit out every once in a while if you're asking him to do more than that. Watch out, but I don't think the Islanders are going to be asking that much more from him than a third pairing role. So yeah, like you said, couple of minor moves, but worthy of note.
Yeah, good for the Islanders to be in a position to make these moves at the beginning of the year. I certainly didn't think it would happen, but obviously they're firing on all cylinders. Sorokin's looking good. Um, Schaefer, what a gem. Bo Horvat back from injury now. So as much as I like to hate on the Islanders sometimes, kudos to them for being in a position to make these moves. Um, Now, we were talking a little while ago about scoring in the dead puck era. How we went through kind of a period where goals were not being scored that much. I believe this came up when we were talking about if anyone will break Ovechkin's goal record. And when we talk about the dead puck era, we are now in the live puck era. They made some regulations here. I think it was after the 2014-2015 season. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jamie Benn wins the Art Ross with 87 points, and then they decide, hey, we need to put regulations on the size of goalie pads.
Yep.
Maybe we need to remove those regulations at this point. I'm all for offense. This is getting a little bit ridiculous, though. We are 29 days into the new year, and we have had 29 hat tricks from 28 different players. I have the list in front of me. These are not all top guys. Like, yes, you have Connor McDavid on here, Austin Matthews, Zibanejad has done it twice. That's awesome. We also have guys like Pavel Regenda on here. We got Matthias Ekholm on here, who's known for being a bit more of a defensive defense. Owen Tippett, guys who probably don't have business scoring hat tricks right now. We're averaging a hat trick per day going into the new year here. And once again, offense sells tickets. As a defenseman, when I played, I'd like to see kind of a happy medium here.
Um, I honestly completely disagree on this one. The more offense, the better. I think any regulation that you make to try and limit offense, you're you always run the risk of going too far and having the goals dry up completely again. So I think the game's in a great spot. Like honestly, I'd be down to increase offense even more. I think it's more fun that way. Makes the games more entertaining, and eventually goaltending will probably catch up as it always does. But yeah, I'm okay with it. More hat tricks is cool with me, man. I like watching goals.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm used to like I don't yeah, it feels a little arcadey to me when we're getting these like 7 to 12 goal games. I like the nitty gritty tight games. And the other thing you look at too, a lot of these games are fairly one-sided, um, which I like the competitiveness of the close game. Now, that being said, that's not on the goal score. That is on the team that he is scoring on for putting out a shit effort that night. So
Well,
can't fault the goal scorer for that.
I think that runs into a deeper issue that the league has is there are too many teams in the NHL. The overall quality of gameplay gets watered down every single time you add a new team because there's 30 guys who would have been AHLers or professionals in Europe or professionals in the KHL, which are all respectable leagues, but they're not the NHL. So the more like we're up to 32 teams now, you are going to eventually. That's why there's teams like the Canucks this year, or the San Jose Sharks the past couple of years, or the Chicago Blackhawks the past couple of years that are just absolutely abysmal because there are players on those teams that have no business playing in the best league in the world. So that's this brings up a broader conversation. Maybe we won't get into it now,
I
but
kind of want to
eventually,
get into it because that I
well,
have a point to your point, but continue.
well, they're talking about expansion again. I just think it's a freaking horrible idea because, yeah, you could say we're bringing in new markets. We're going to get them into the game. If it's Houston and Atlanta, they don't give a shit about hockey. They're not going to give a shit about hockey because the quality's not going to be that good off the bat. Like Vegas was a one-time thing, I believe. Let's look at Seattle now. They came in with the same rules that Vegas had. They're what, 5, 6 years in, and they're
Okay,
they're just terrible. They're middling
to
all the
be
time.
to be fair, I'm and I agree with you on the no more expansion. This is going to sound like I'm playing devil's advocate, which I'm not. I 100% agree with you on that. Ron Francis might be one of the worst GMs I've ever seen in my life. So that probably did not help Seattle more than the watered down draft lottery. Like, yes, coming in a couple years later, Vegas already took the cream of the crop in terms of options you had in a draft lottery. The way Ron Francis tried to structure that team, you can either go young and suck for the first couple of years and try and develop, or you can go with the top end veteran talent and skill that's available to you in a draft lottery and try and do a Vegas thing and win now. He did kind of neither. He's like, "Oh, I want to build a team in the middle to see if it shakes out either way so we're prepared." And if you're playing both sides, that doesn't work in the National Hockey League.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. He literally said, "Let's start our franchise's existence in the mushy middle," which we all know is very hard to get out of. So, but overall, I think the point stands. The more teams you add, the more watered down the quality of the league gets at a certain point. And there's just so many teams now that I think that also is contributing to a lot of the lopsided scores. Like when you get a Colorado versus a Vancouver, everybody knows before the game starts, for the most part, what's going to happen, and there's going to be a lot of goals put up. But overall, I'm okay with it. Juice the offense as much as possible.
So personally, I agree 32 is where to cap it. I'm okay with the expansion from 30 to 32 teams. I think it works out better numbers wise for scheduling, for the playoffs. To me, I always found it a little bit weird how 8 out of 15 teams um, could make the playoffs in a conference. That means you're in the bottom half of the conference and you're making the playoffs for one team. I always thought the playoffs should be a little bit more competitive. Seattle, I have no problem with. That's a hockey market. Pac Northwest creates a good rivalry with Vancouver. Unfortunately, both those teams are shit right now. It would be a good rivalry if they're both winning, but what can you do? I absolutely love Vegas. It's the only town to support hockey in the desert. That was a genius move. The way they structured that franchise from a marketing perspective, with the mascot and the fandom, the way they built the arena, you're going to get Nevada locals going to those games. And then you're also going to sell tickets to those games as a tourist attraction. Same thing with the Raiders. Anyone from around the world who's in Vegas who likes sports is going to go, "Oh, something to do. I'm gonna go watch a Raiders game, or I'm gonna go." It doesn't promote the best fan base in the world. Fortunately for the Vegas Golden Knights, they have had lots of success, um, at the beginning, which kind of solidified their fan base, and they are in a much lower tax bracket than the rest of the league, which also helps. So I think Vegas was genius. 100% agree with you, though. We can't have any more expansion because nobody gives a fuck about hockey in Atlanta. We've tried this twice. We don't need to try it again. Meanwhile, Quebec City's bleeding for a team. Houston, I'm actually okay with just because of just purely based on population. I think it's like one of the top 5 most populous metro hubs in the United States. So if you're just running the numbers, there are going to be hockey fans or casual sports fans that will go to those games, and we've proven hockey can work in Texas with Dallas. What I don't like, though, is the idea of expansion. If there's a franchise that needs to move them. You have my blessing. If it's Winnipeg and you're not selling tickets in Winnipeg and you want to move to Houston, am I going to be happy about it? No, probably going to cry and I'm going to be curled up in a ball in the fetal position for like a week if Winnipeg leaves. But like, I get it, right? It's a business. You got to make money. Just no more expansion. What they did with Arizona, perfect. We're going to Utah. We have Ryan Smith, tech mogul, billionaire. He has all the funding in the world. He's already invested in the sports world with the Jazz and Real Salt Lake. Utah is a hockey state. Salt Lake City, it's a hockey town. It's a great sports market there. They've hosted the Winter Olympics before. It's proven. I thought they did very good with their marketing as well. So I'm all for exploring new hockey markets, to be clear, new, not ones we've tried before. And I'm cool with moving teams around if you need to for the sake of the business. I agree, though, no more expansion. Where I think this helps is the NHL's kind of turned into a development league. We're seeing the age of retirement from the NHL, or maybe not the age of retirement, but the age players leave and go to Europe come down younger and younger every year. And that's because the top end talent coming into the league, whether that's from over in Europe or the national team development program or NCAA or the CHL, is getting better and better and better. So I think over time, the high end talent coming into the league at a young age will offset the effects of the league getting watered down a bit based on two expansion teams. However, that gap only catches up if it remains at 32 teams. It cannot go anymore. There's a reason for years and years and years. I believe it's 20, 25 years now that the NFL has stopped at 32 teams. That's the number. You can't go any higher than that.
I agree. You're right. 16 teams in each conference is definitely better. And just to jump back a little bit, I think another reason Vegas was so successful off the start, other than winning all the time, was they were the first of the four professional North American leagues to go to Vegas. I think if the Raiders would have been there first, or if basketball would have wised up and gone there first, or I mean the A's are coming now, but if they would have gotten a baseball team, any other thing, it would have maybe hurt the Golden Knights' appeal a bit. But because for a time they were the only ticket in town for pro sports, that was also massive for them. But yeah, we're on the same page. Expansion beyond 32 teams, just a bad idea. Relocation, all for it. Unfortunately, I think Winnipeg would be the team, but I prefer to see him go to Quebec City if you could.
I think it'd be hard for them to go from a small population area in Winnipeg to a small population area in Quebec City. Like, as much as I love Quebec City, I get it, right? Like why the NHL hasn't gone back there. Um,
And the difference between the Canadian dollar and putting the team in Houston, which is like probably 10 times the amount of people as Quebec City. It would be Houston, but yeah.
yeah. And like I said, would I be really sad? Yeah, nobody wants to lose their favorite team, right? Like we talked about liquor sales going up. There'd be no liquor on any shelves in the city of Penticton for like if Winnipeg ever left, whether it's to Quebec or to Houston, we're having a year-long bender to drown our sorrows.
What would you do in that case? Would you just let your allegiance follow the team, or would you just not have a favorite NHL team or
I
pick a
don't
new one?
think I think I'd have to pick a new one. Thankfully, I've never had any of my franchises have to relocate. I think I'd have to pick a new one because every time I saw Houston, it would remind me of how sad I am. Like I would always wish well for the guys, you know, but it would no, I'd probably have to pick a new one or go. I'd see where the state of hockey is. Like there's a few other teams I really like. Just based off of, we've talked before that like growing up watching the Vancouver Giants. I was a Milan Lucic fan. We talked about it on our very
You
first.
can't cheer for two Boston sports teams being from Vancouver, dude. I will not. I will
Well, we've
not
all,
allow.
but okay, but I was a Boston fan because of Milan Lucic. He's not there anymore, so maybe I don't like Boston as much. Now, I'm not saying I would pick them. I'm just saying that's out there. We talked about on our very first episode that we've ever done. Sorry? Yeah, I was like 10 years old. He wasn't beating his wife at that point. He wasn't even married at that point. I'm not following domestic violence cases when I'm 10 years old.
Next thing you know, you're gonna be a Cowboys fan at this rate.
No, I don't think New England's ever moving out of Foxborough. I think the
Oh,
Crafts have a pretty strong hold on that franchise. But
I meant because the Cowboys lead the league in domestic abusers per year.
yeah. Well, we're not doing that either. We do not condone violence here, okay? We don't condone violence unless it's against Calvin Pickard, then it's fully
Yeah,
deserved. But like also, growing up on our very first episode, if anyone's ever listened to the very first episode of High Flying, they also know that growing up I was a big fan of Devin Setoguchi. So there's a little bit of sentimental allegiance to San Jose there. No, I wouldn't pick that because that's Jude's favorite team, as he
second
puts on a
favorite team.
San Jose hat. So I'd have
My
to be a
second team.
little bit original. But I don't think I could cheer for Houston. You know what would piss me off though, actually more than the Jets relocating? It it looks good on the ice. I hate the Hartford Whalers, Quebec, Nordiques jerseys, right? When like Carolina and Colorado, where it's like that's your franchise, sure. Like that's not your team anymore. You relocated, you rebranded, you robbed all those fans of having a professional hockey team. Don't fucking wear their jerseys. You know how mad I would be if the Houston Armadillos or whatever they're going to be called come out one day and they're like, "Yeah, we're wearing Jets jerseys tonight." I'd be like, "Fuck you guys. That's not your team. You stole that team from me." I'd be so mad. Looks
I, I
nice, but I'd be so mad, dude.
I totally get that. Like they probably mean it as a, honoring the history or whatever, but definitely would more come across as just a slap in the face, like beating a dead horse. It's like you already took our team. Like don't take our colors, man.
Exactly. Like I guarantee you, when Colorado wears those Nordique jerseys, there is not a soul in Quebec that does not want to put a baguette through their TV.
Yeah, I hear you. Fair enough. Should we should we maybe call her for the day?
Yeah, that's my little rant. That's all I got. For anyone who made it this far, thank you for listening. As always, we love when you interact with us on social media. You don't have to wait for a poll to let us know your thoughts. We love hearing your comments on Instagram, TikTok. Feel free to DM us. Todd and Leslie, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Please put me on your podcast. And we do not condone violence. Just gonna put it out there for the record.
Good disclaimer. Shout out Kale and Gavin for listening to every episode. Love you guys.